Fortunately, I've done quantum mechanics, I've done relativity, I've done statistical mechanics, I've done thermodynamics, I've done all of these things.
So why are you sitting on TikTok Live and not doing it as a job?
This is a part-time gig that I do, and I do research. I do research for the other part-time thing.
You're not a scientist. You're not a scientist.
I don't know if you know. I'm a published scientist. I'm a published scientist. I don't know if you know this. Like, I have more than a dozen publications in the last 5 years. No, you just changed your mind because you were wrong and you refused to admit it.
No, that's the same. You take the math from somebody else. You make the math up. It's the same.
Those are not the same thing. Those are obviously different things.
Carbon dating.
Yep,
are there any flaws?
That's the pivot. That's the pivot that I thought you were going to make.
Carbon dating.
Not only do you not understand physics, you also don't understand economics.
You don't understand physics, bro. You literally
Surely
don't.
I don't understand physics. Definitely the guy with a physics PhD doesn't understand physics, but the meathead who does Krav Maga all day probably does.
Krav Maga is not a real martial art, but
based. Hey, Constrictor, how's it going?
It's going good.
Constrictor, how old do you think the Earth is?
I mean, I think nobody knows, you know?
You think nobody knows?
Yeah, I don't think. Well, maybe some elite.
So how old do you think it is?
Like I said, I would have no clue, you know? Do you have any clue?
Yeah, like 4.5 billion years old or so, with some change.
Yeah, how did you get to that conclusion?
Through the entire body of scientific literature that we have access to over the last 100 years or so. We can, examine that literature and come to look at the data ourselves and come to that conclusion.
Gotcha. So other people kind of influenced your decision on that, right?
Well, I mean, like, look, nobody can do every experiment. What we do as humans is we cooperate, and scientists especially are really good at publishing their data and making it available, and then we can look at it ourselves.
Would you admit, like Dr. King, right? We just had his day yesterday, right? Like, he was one of the only PhDs 100 years ago. Like, he was one of the early PhDs, right? I'm saying there was less doctors, like less people had doctorates back in the day, right?
Yeah, but like,
okay, so
MLK,
would you admit that there were less?
MLK was like, example. Yeah, it probably was, because that was like, I'm saying,
would you admit that there were less? Would you admit that there were less scientists back in the day?
Not necessarily. Well, okay, yes, of course there were, because there were fewer people. There were fewer people alive. So, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's try to have a debate that's in good faith, okay? So, yeah, 100 years ago there was a lot less scientists.
So what I was getting at is that it's not necessarily true that, like, per capita the number of scientists is lower, right?
Okay, so
but yeah, I mean, there were, like, 100 years ago there were, like, several billion fewer people. So, like, yeah, there's going to be less scientists.
Would you admit that the funnel to becoming a scientist was a lot more tight knit, right? So, like, it was more of a controlled operation.
I wouldn't use that phrasing. I wouldn't use that phrasing. I don't think that it was like a controlled operation. It was just harder because people...
Who ran the universities?
Well, hold on. So the reason why it was harder was because generally people needed, like, 150 years ago, we were just getting out of the Industrial Revolution. And so often people needed to work on farms in order to feed their family. And so it just wasn't an option for people to go spend 4, 6, 8 years at a university.
I understand how reality worked back in the day. What I'm asking you is how many, there was less universities, right? So you'd have less scientists, right? And tops of these universities definitely could, talk to each other a little bit better than, say, now that you have tons of universities, right?
What do you mean that they could talk to each other? I mean, we can communicate better now than we could 100 years ago.
Like a fraternity, right?
No, I don't think that that's the case. No. So we have better communication. We have better communications now than we did 100 years ago.
Yeah, but it would be more widespread now, right? So you have different opinions.
Yeah, but I can now collaborate with a person in Poland and a person in New Zealand.
Yeah, for sure.
Instantaneously, and 100 years ago they couldn't. So no, it's just not the case. So they could communicate better.
So when science was becoming, way more established, it was a lot more of a small knit community, is what I'm trying to express here.
In some sense, it was a wider community because people were more poorly connected.
How would it be wider if there was less people?
Because the networks were smaller, because people couldn't communicate with each other as easily.
There we go. Just what we just said. So with the network being smaller, right? It was more of a controlled.
Okay, you misunderstood. When I say the network is smaller, I mean it was less interconnected.
Yeah. So with it being smaller, you'd admit that there was probably fewer people at the top of these scientific institutions.
Well,
correct?
there were fewer people, but they were also
Yeah, so
likely
there
not
was
working
fewer
or
at
in
the-
contact with each other.
Oh, so they weren't in contact with each other.
Yeah, because the amount
So who
of
did they
contact
bounce
that
their
you could
ideas
have
off
with
of?
each other, with
Who did
local collaborators. And occasionally there would be mixing of ideas, like you would have some people travel, you know, they would get on a boat and travel for 3 months to go somewhere else, but like those were rare occasions.
Very rare, right?
Yeah.
You don't think that the people at the top of these scientific institutions talked?
Look, I'm sure that they did. I'm sure that they sent letters, but it's really, really difficult to form, form conspiracies or to organize or to whatever. It's hard. It's much, much harder to do a global version of that without modern telecommunications, right?
Now, back in the day, you admitted they sent letters to each other. Now, back in the day,
Yeah, of course they did, and the letters would take a month and a half to get to each other.
Yeah, and we can read them now. So, who funded these operations?
Usually it would have been either the kingdoms that these universities were in, or it may have been like, if you were in a democracy, then it may have been like a public service. It may have also been private donors. It was very distributed.
Sorry. Yeah, so if you were a king back in the day,
sometimes churches.
And you were a king back in the day, there you go. Yeah, the church was definitely involved. I
mean, it depends on the place.
Well, I mean, it's just like the Catholics had the largest telescope up until like, what, 10, 15 years ago or something?
No, that's not true.
No, that is true. You can Google it.
Okay, let's Google it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually made a video about the largest telescopes over time, and the Vatican has never had the largest telescope.
I said they had one of the largest up until
I'm pretty sure you said that they had the largest. We could replay the live stream if you want, but how big is the Vatican telescope? The Vatican telescope is 6 feet across, and if I remember correctly, the first 6-foot telescope was built in the 1800s, and it was not at the Vatican. Like it was.
I need you to type in.
In fact, the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope first turned on in 1993.
I need you to type into Google who had the largest telescope in the 1970, 1980.
Okay, the largest telescope in 1970 was the University of Hawaii's 88-inch telescope on Mauna Kea.
88 inches. How big is that?
2.2 meters. It's like 7 feet.
So it was 1 foot bigger than the one in
it's larger.
So there we go. So my point is,
and to be clear, the Vatican telescope opened 23 years later.
There you go. So my point is this. So you had the kings that were funding both religion and science.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
The kingdoms that
hold on. Let me clarify. The University of Hawaii's 88-inch telescope was the world's highest and first computer-controlled large telescope, but it wasn't the largest telescope at the time. In fact, I can just go look at a table and I can sort by telescopes, but the 200-inch Hale telescope at Palomar, which had been operational since 1949, it was 200 inches. More than twice as big as the Vatican telescope. So, I mean, you're just mistaken. You're just kind of like spreading misinformation here.
The whole point isn't the fact that the Vatican had a telescope.
Why did you mention it at all? Because it's completely false. Everything that you said about it was false.
Dude, that's not at all the case. My point is,
you said it was the largest telescope. And then you said it was, then you implied that it was the largest telescope in the 1970s, but it was built in 1993.
The point of this
and it wasn't even the largest telescope.
Brother, the point of this is who's funding the scientists, right? So at one point you admitted that it was kings and it was
kings, churches, governments, private individuals.
There you go. So why would these people decide, like, they had religion, they had science to go off of? Well, why did they switch from religion? Why did they switch from religion?
Oxford and Cambridge were both founded as religious institutions.
Of course, it was funded. Yeah, that's what this is all about.
It was originally a religious institution. That's why the church funded it.
You're not going around the bend here, dude. So why would these
there is no bend.
Religious? They had everybody under control with the religion, is what I'm saying, and then they
had who's they?
Oh man, dude, you guys act so smart, but all you are is pretentious, man. That's all you are. Like you won't admit that there's flaws
You've
in
been
carbon
talking
dating.
down to me
You
this
won't admit-
entire
you won't admit
conversation,
that
and
there's
you're calling me
flaws in carbon
pretentious?
dating. No, it's the way that you address things. Like, you can't admit that back in the day there were less scientists. You have to go around it as many times as you could. Oh, well,
We
actually,
definitely
it was
had
this.
the
Actually,
conversation
it was
about how there, of course, were less scientists because there were less people. The point is that it's not clear that there were fewer scientists per capita. It's also not clear that they were more well connected because there were few of them, because they didn't have access to modern telecommunications. So I'm sorry, like, your conspiracy-addled brain is just not going to fly here. You got to actually present evidence, or at least rational conclusions.
It's literally not a conspiracy when you've admitted that there were less scientists.
Admitted?
That were funneled,
What's to admit? This is not some, like, something that's being hidden, right? Like, of course there were fewer scientists 100 years ago. There were fewer people 100 years ago.
The point
is not something to admit. This is obviously the case.
You have no ability to follow up on half of the shit that they do.
Sure, you do.
Back it. No, you really don't. You take word from other people. You just said you can't recreate most of the experiments.
Hold on. When did I say that? Literally, when did I say that?
In the very beginning of this conversation.
No, I didn't say anything along those lines. You want to replay it?
I did admit I was wrong with the telescope. I said they had one of the largest. Do you want to replay it? I meant to say, not the largest. Sorry, there was a comment. Do
you want to replay the live stream from the beginning? We can see if I said that, you know, I can't recreate any of these experiments. Want to see if I said that?
I didn't say you couldn't recreate any of them. You said that you couldn't recreate most of them. Like,
well, I didn't say that either.
You can recreate them, like, if you went out and did it.
I didn't say that either, by the way.
Have you done it?
All right, we're gonna replay it. Really?
Have you recreated these experiments?
So, like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
MLK was really good at publishing their data and making it available.
Have you recreated these experiments?
Hold on, we are replaying the live.
The whole point of this.
Well, I mean, like, look, nobody can do every experiment.
This is, have you done it? Have you done it?
The data ourselves and come to that conclusion.
Have you recreated the experiments?
Gotcha. So other people kind of influenced your decision on that, right?
Well, I mean, like, look, nobody can do every experiment. What we do as humans is we cooperate, and, you know, scientists especially are really good at publishing their data and making it available. I'm sorry, I said nobody can redo every experiment.
So you admitted that you haven't done any of this shit. You haven't recreated
to be clear,
most of these.
To be clear, that's not saying anything about what I've done. That's saying that nobody can do every experiment.
Comments. Who won that right there? Yeah, you all you do is sit there and act pretentious, bro. You have not recreated.
Let's see what the comments say.
You follow the fucking scientists of today, and because they're your new preachers. They're your new
Constrictor, just a quick question. Do you think it's possible to do every job on Earth?
If I'm going to talk about it, I would have done it.
No, I'm sorry. That wasn't my question. Do you think it's possible for anybody to do every single job on Earth?
If I'm going to sit here and do a live...
why are you dodging? Do you think that it's possible for any single person to do every single job on Earth?
You're a hypocrite. You recreate. You're a parrot.
Why are you dodging?
You're a parrot.
Oh, I didn't know that we had a pivoting parrot, a dodging Daniel.
You're a well-spoken parrot,
and avoiding Andrew. Why can't you answer the question, my guy?
You regurgitate.
All right, that's the third dodge. That's the third dodge. I stole it from Ian. It's a funny joke.
It is funny, but you regurgitate shit that
Constrictor,
you don't
why can't you answer the question? I've answered so many of your questions. Why can't you answer mine?
I just told you.
No, you didn't answer my question. You just mentioned something about yourself. I was asking, can any single person do every single job? It's a yes or no question.
I mean, that's a stupid question.
So you refuse to answer it?
What do you mean? Can any
individual person do every single job?
Is there a person on Earth that's capable of doing every single job?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Who?
If you take the smartest scientist, I'm sure you could train him to do every single job below him, right?
No, I mean like actually do every single job, not like be capable of doing every single job, just actually do every single job.
If he's going to talk about it, he should have done it.
That wasn't my question. My question was, is it possible for a person to do every single job? Okay, so you're just refusing to answer?
You're a hypocrite.
So you just refuse to answer. When I actually ask you a single question, you refuse to answer it despite the fact that I've asked you or I've answered questions from you over and over again.
You sit up here and regurgitate bullshit. That's what you do.
You don't even know what I believe.
You don't even know if it's right or not because you haven't done the shit.
Have you done anything, Constrictor? Have you done anything with your life? Do you know anything?
Here we go. Here we go.
Do you know anything?
Everyone in the comments watch this. He is just broken because he knows that I'm right.
Do you know anything?
I'm a professional mixed martial artist. Yeah, I know how to fucking fight.
Wait, are you? Have you done every single martial art?
Yeah.
Oh, you've done every single martial art. Okay, let's pull up a list.
Let's go.
All right. Have you done Bateriacht?
Was that in out of Africa?
So no, you haven't done it. It's Irish. Oh, so wait a minute. You're telling me that you haven't done every single martial art? How can you say that you can do martial arts?
Every mainstream martial art I've done, yes.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that it's not possible to have done every single martial art? How can you say that you've done a martial art then?
No, every single mainstream martial art that I would sit up there and talk about, I have done.
Oh, okay, so now we're changing the question. Now we're changing the tune, right? The claim was that you've done every single martial arts, and now you're saying, oh well, I've done every single martial arts that I would talk about that's mainstream.
Dude, of course you can pull up a random ass thing, but I could easily go study whatever you said. But guess what? If it was mainstream and I'm going to sit up here and talk about it, I've done it.
Fortunately, I've done quantum mechanics. I've done relativity. I've done statistical mechanics. I've done thermodynamics. I've done all of these things.
So why are you sitting on TikTok Live and not doing it as a job?
This is a part-time gig that I do, and I do research. I do research for the other part-time thing.
You're not a scientist. You're not a scientist.
I don't know if you know. I'm a published scientist. I'm a published scientist. I don't know if you know this. Like, I have more than a dozen publications in the last 5 years.
What kind of science?
I'm a physicist.
There's different kinds of physics.
Yeah, I imagine that you probably don't know what cosmology and black hole relativity are.
There we go. So you base everything off of the math of what? Like the black hole. Where did we get the math for the black holes at?
I'm sorry. Why are we deflecting? I'm a scientist. This is the fields that I'm an expert in.
Have you been to a black hole?
Have you been to Ireland?
I had a trip planned and then COVID happened. But so black hole.
Right. So you're right. I haven't been to a black hole. You haven't been to Ireland. How do we know that either exists?
There you go. Go.
Oh, did you just admit that Ireland might not exist?
Have you watched The Truman Show?
Are you high?
You sit up here. No, I'm saying that you sit up here on your fucking throne.
I can't believe you just admitted that you don't know that Ireland exists.
If I've never been,
this is delusional.
How can I 100%? If I've never been,
who said anything about 100%?
You just said it.
I literally didn't say the number 100 at all in this live stream whatsoever. Are you having a conversation with me, or are you like diluting something and then you're imagining that I'm saying things that I'm not saying?
I think that scientists are your new priests. I think you regurgitate.
I am a scientist.
Yeah, and that's why your comment section is full of people who worship you. They have no clue.
So the tune is changing, huh? Now that you found out I'm actually an accomplished scientist, now you're changing your tune from you're just regurgitating everything to your comments are just obeying and listening to your every word. You're changing the tune once you found out that I'm actually a genuine scientist who actually works in the field.
Bro, it's not in the field. You literally have used the math.
What do you mean it's not in the field? That's what the field is.
You're taking math from somebody else.
What do you think that physicists like myself do? We make the math.
Yeah, you make the math. Yeah, that's what I think.
No, you didn't think that. You literally didn't think that. Do you want me to replay it for you? Because I can replay it for you.
You're not understanding at all what I'm saying. Worship you.
Okay, so the tune is changing, huh? Now that you found out I'm actually an accomplished scientist, now you're changing your tune from you're just regurgitating everything to your comments are just obeying and listening to your every word. You're changing the tune once you found out that I'm actually a genuine scientist who actually works in the field.
Bro, it's not in the field. You literally have used the math.
What do you mean it's not in the field? That's what the field is.
You're taking math from somebody else.
Did you hear that? You're taking math from somebody else. Let's keep listening. What do you think that physicists like myself do? We make the math.
Yeah, you make the math. Yeah, that's what I think.
So earlier you said you take the math, and then you said, oh yeah, that agrees. You make the math. That's what I think. No, you just changed your mind because you were wrong, and you refused to admit it.
No, that's the same. You take the math from somebody else. You make the math up. It's the same.
Those are not the same thing. Those are obviously different things.
carbon dating.
Yep,
Are there any
that's
flaws?
the pivot. That's the pivot that I thought you were going to make.
Carbon dating? No, because we're not going to have any going into conspiratorial, like whatever. It's not obviously your brain can't understand what I'm trying to say. Like there were less scientists.
Oh yes, the guy who thinks for a living. The guy who thinks for a living definitely can't understand the meathead martial artists conspiracy. You got me there.
From a meathead standpoint, first
I'm
off,
sure you don't.
It's a pretty honest sport. Like it's pretty revealing when you
look. I totally get it. That like I'm totally in line with doing martial arts. I did martial arts for a while as a child and teenager. I think that it's like a valuable sport, but it's definitely not the kind of sport where you need to be using your brain in such a way that you can outthink somebody whose job is to think.
Wow. Well, I would disagree, but let's get to carbon dating. I'm carbon dating. Are there any flaws with it or no?
First, before we go into that, I need to make sure that you actually know what carbon dating is. Can you tell me what carbon dating is?
Oh man, see, this is what we do. We get into definitions, we get into semantics. Like I'm just asking you as a human being, have there been any issues with carbon dating?
I need to know what you think carbon dating is.
I just don't think.
Do you know what carbon dating is?
Carbon is what?
So you don't know what carbon dating is?
You're dating you're. I couldn't tell you how they do it.
Could you tell me what the principle behind it is?
Yeah, it's just to determine the age of.
That's its goal. What's the principle?
What do you mean?
Like, how does it work?
I just said I couldn't tell you how they do it. I know that there are flaws in it. Like they found.
How can you say that there are flaws in it if you don't even know how it works?
They found door handles that they carbon dated at 100,000 years old. They found belt buckles.
Well, that's a lie.
Wallets. No, it's not a lie.
It is a lie because carbon dating has. You will never find a single scientist alive who will say that carbon dating can ever get you an age older than 50,000 years. So you just lied to me.
Bro, then how? Okay, so how?
Why'd you lie to me?
What form of whatever kind of carbon dating? Like, what variation of that do you use to determine?
They don't use carbon dating for the age of the Earth.
That's what I'm talking about. Arguing semantics. You know what I'm trying to say.
This isn't semantics. You just don't know what you're talking about, and I'm nailing you on that.
What do they use to determine the age of the planet that you're basing everything in your life off of?
The primary way is called uranium lead dating and potassium argon dating.
There you go. Okay, Spock. Now let's go on that. Is there any flaws with that?
Not really. No.
There's never been.
Not that I've heard of.
Oh man.
Have you heard of them? Have you heard of any flaws with uranium lead dating?
Well, obviously, I thought it was still on the carbon dating. I haven't been updated on.
It's never been carbon dating. Carbon dating has never been used to determine the age of the Earth.
I think you're wrong there, but obviously I've been wrong about some shit. But there's no way for you to determine that this planet is that old, dude.
Why not?
You haven't done it.
I'm sorry. What do you think you have to do when you're a senior undergrad in a physics degree?
I think you have to regurgitate whatever the person above you said.
Okay. So then you probably didn't do a science-based field in college if you went to college. No, you have to do labs. Do you know what a lab is?
And the labs are designed by who?
Doesn't matter who they're designed by. You're collecting your own data.
Yes, it does. It does matter. Yeah, because they can recreate it to where you're going to get the same data every time because of the math that they designed.
What's there to recreate? You're measuring some physical real thing.
Have you ever heard of gematria? Have you ever heard of gematria?
It's pronounced gematria, by the way. And second of all, it is completely unrelated to the idea that in a lab, you are collecting your own data. You analyze your own data. The data is not provided to you by higher ups. You have like a thing, like a lump of metal or like a piece of electronics or whatever, and then you do measurements on it. And that data is, if you did your lab correctly, that data is an accurate measure of the thing that you're trying to measure. And if you're a bad scientist, then you'll get bad data. But like, the point is that this is not something that someone can control. People cannot control the radioactive decay rate of a metal.
What? Say that again?
You can't control the radioactive decay rate of a metal.
They already know what that's going to be.
Yeah, and that's what we use when we try to date things like uranium, or zircon crystals in particular. We use the radioactive decay rate, which is a known quantity.
It's
known because we can measure it.
It's made up math.
What's made up about it? It's a measured quantity. Ah, yes, the sky is blue. That's made up. No, it's measured.
See, if I was like you, dude, I would sit there and go, the sky's not actually blue. It's this and this and this and this. No, dude, I'm not going to argue semantics with you. At the end of the day,
you're currently arguing semantics with me. You're telling me that measurements are made up.
You're not admitting that you just got your information from people who are above you. That's it. You haven't done it.
So to be clear, during undergrad labs, there's a course, at least at the university I was at, called Advanced Labs, and you have to take 2 of these as an undergraduate to finish your physics degree. And during the advanced lab courses, you have to do basically 4, they're like several week-long experiments over the course of a single term, and then you do this twice for 2 different courses. And you can pick which experiments you want to do. And one of the experiments that I did was measuring radioactive decay rates.
I understand this, but
and so yes, I did make those measurements myself.
Scientists are the new priests.
You can keep saying that if it makes you feel good, but it doesn't make it true.
Kings funded you guys when it was in their best interest to control the new age narrative.
You know what's great? We don't have kings in this country.
Who sent over the first Americans?
I'm sorry, were they Americans when they came over?
Spaniards, whatever, Vikings, any of it.
Yeah, so in America, we don't have kings. I know that you probably want a king in America, but we don't have kings in America.
That was good. That was a nice little lowbrow, attack, right?
Am I wrong?
I think you regurgitate information to feel smarter than you are.
That's like the 4th time you've said that, and I know that it feels good to keep repeating it. It doesn't make it any more true.
Well, no, I'm just saying it for the people who are coming in that are sitting there talking shit, You guys can be pretentious. You guys can sit there and act like you know because this guy's telling you shit.
Does it bother you when people are smarter than you?
No, I appreciate, if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room, right?
Well, look, I'm just asking you. Does
it bother?
That
you have a higher IQ than me, 100%. Like you're a very intelligent person.
So then why can't you actually just absorb knowledge, absorb information that you're getting from other people, rather than just saying, "Nuh-uh, I know better. You're deluded. I'm not a sheep. You're a sheep."
No, I'm gonna go do some research after this discussion.
You should.
On what we've talked
try
about.
to do it not on YouTube or TikTok. Try to pick up an encyclopedia.
Intelligent people are the easiest to trick.
Well, I mean, that's not really true.
No, it is true, because you get caught up in your own sense of grandeur, right? You get caught up in patting yourself on the back that you're better than everyone else around you because you're more intelligent. But the fact is, you are just going off of bullshit that people were paid to tell you. Okay, that's all it was. They were paid back in the day to recreate a whole new religion, and that's what's happened.
What do you mean back in the day? None of my professors were alive. None of my professors were alive during the King era.
But their professors were. Their professors were. Their professors were.
Do you think that? Wait. So to be clear, do you know when modern science basically established itself? Like when we can really talk about like the beginning of the era of modern science, which is like rigorous data taking. Are you familiar with this?
You can't follow me down what I was saying. All you do is pivot to try to.
Well, this is addressing your point, right? That like, their professors and their professors and so on and so forth, right? Do you know when modern science really came into its own?
I mean, it'd be like the 1600s.
No. I mean, like, the scientific method was perhaps developed in the 1600s, but the way that we do science today really came about at the turn of the century, around the late 1800s, early 1900s. Before that, science was kind of vibes-based. And, like, they were still doing science, but, like, they weren't, like, doing rigorous statistical analysis and that kind of stuff. They weren't doing double blinds and all of that stuff. So the way that we do science now, really, like, it came into its own really at the end of the 1800s or the beginning of the 1900s. And you know who was pioneering that?
Who else came around at that time, would you think? Who
Who
else was
else?
funded and founded around the 1700s?
We're not talking about the 1700s. We're at this
somewhere
late
in France.
1800s, early
Yeah,
1900s.
late 1700s in
No,
France.
late
What was that?
1800s. What are we
No, I'm
talking? Why are you
saying,
bringing up the 1700s? We're talking about the
who else
1800s
was
and
founded, who else was founded in the late 1700s in France?
Why are we talking about the 1700s? That's 100 years off from what I'm talking
it's
about.
Like 17. It's like 1780.
Yeah, we're talking
bro.
about like 1880s to the 1920s on my end.
And how
Why
long
are you
do
bringing up
think it
some
would
random
take?
time
How
period
long-
100 years
how long
before?
do you- How long
So look,
do you think?
just
it
to
would
be
take?
clear,
See,
the
you wanna
modern
avoid it because
scientific
you know where
well, no,
I'm
I mean, I'm
going.
not.
You
I
know
actually
where
have no
I'm
idea
going.
where you're going. It's probably
Then
something like
there was
batshit
the-
crazy. But like the point
Yeah,
is
because
the
you
reason
know-
why I
you
bring
know
this
where I'm
up.
going.
The reason why I bring this up.
Your scientists were funded
Sorry, I had
and
to mute you.
founded.
The reason
No,
why I bring this up is
you're
because the
gonna
way that we do modern science
I'm
really
muting
kind of
you. I got
originated
you
both
up
in
to
the United
1.1.
States and in Germany. And both of these places were democracies at the time. They didn't have kings.
Bro, you want to sit here and just do semantics.
This is not semantics. This is an important point that the way that we do modern science was really started in, Germany and the United States, and neither of those were kings. Neither of those had kings.
Oh, man. All right. Well, at the end of the day, everything that you were taught was the same way that people were taught religion.
At the end of the
Okay.
day is what people say when they've been blown out the entire time and then just want to repeat what they came in saying because they forgot what I said the entire time.
I haven't forgotten anything you said, dude. I appreciate the conversation. Like I said, I think you're intelligent. I think, I need to come better prepared with certain things. But at the end of the day, you're never going to be able to set down your accolades. It's like with mixed martial arts, right? If I was only jujitsu and I went against boxing because I was like, that doesn't work in this situation, right? I would have never improved in all the way around, right? With you, you're never going to set aside what you've done to think, hey, were there some nefarious people that might have gained from the scientific community?
Yeah, who was gaining from the scientific community between the late 1800s and the early 1900s?
The elite, dude.
Who? Can you name one?
Do you believe in God?
No.
Okay, so how many people believed in God before that?
Before the late 1800s, early 1900s?
Yes.
Most people. Most people believed in God between the late 1800s and early 1900s as well.
And would you say
In
that
fact,
now,
prior to World War II,
now-
in fact, it's even still true that most people believe in God.
No, it's not. They've done
At least in the West. At least in the West, it's true. In the East, it's very much not true.
Like 40-50%. It's gone down. Would you admit that it's at least drastically been cut
It's definitely
down?
gone. It's definitely gone down. Yeah, because
Okay, so
it turns
why
out
do you think
that when you get a better understanding of where the world came from, you need less of an explanation from the divine.
No, they wanted to get people away from the divine.
Who's they?
Because the elite that run the world.
Can you name one?
Can I name one of the elites?
Yeah. Between the 1880s and the 1920s. Can you name one?
One of the 13 bloodlines.
Oh, this is that conspiracy.
Would you admit you don't think that there were bloodlines that ran the world?
No, it's delusional.
You don't think that there were bloodlines that why did they keep their blood so pure in Europe?
They didn't. There's so much mixing in Europe.
No, I'm talking about the royal families.
Because the way that you pass on your royalty is by your descendants. And so if you want to keep your power contained within that royalty, you have to, marry your cousin or whatever.
So there were how many families that ran the world?
Probably lots. It depends on how you distinguish between what a family is. It depends on what you distinguish between what a family is. Are two cousins in the same family or in a different family? Because if they're in the same family, then there's like one family that was like basically the king or the royal family across all of Europe up until like the 1800s when most of Europe basically became democracies.
There you go.
So they're democracies. So who was in charge between the 1880s and the 1920s that was relevant for the elite and wanted to, trick the scientists? Who was doing this?
Up to the 1940s? Who do you think ran the world to the 1940s?
So between the 1880s and the 1920s.
What happened in 1938?
In the 1880s, between the 1880s and 1920s,
World War I
who was
happened.
benefiting from the
World War I
deception of the scientists? Who was benefiting?
When they were setting up this fucking what we're in now.
So they were predicting the future 100 years ago?
They were using what they could to
Sure.
to take people away from the divine.
Sure. So
from
you think that
source.
there's an enormous conspiracy to try to make people less religious by teaching them about science that is going to drastically improve the world? Is that your view?
You can have two things that are true at once. Like, you can have technology that gets better, and you can also have people that are using it for nefarious reasons.
Can you give me an example of the nefarious reasons that people are using the, I don't know,
I just told you, they're trying to get you away
relativity
from.
for? Like general relativity? What nefarious reason is that for?
If your foundations are built on sand, everything else is gonna.
Okay, in
It's
what
not
way are
gonna-
the foundations built on sand? In what way is, say, general relativity built on sand?
You've spent your life talking about black holes that don't exist.
Oh, what's the
your
evidence of
whole
that?
foundation- Your whole foundation is built
What's the
on
evidence
sand.
that black holes don't exist?
What's the evidence that it does?
Well, we have photos, we have gravitational wave detections,
We
we
don't have
have
any
binary,
photos.
we do.
No,
This
we have
is
CGI composite photos.
this is
CGI composite.
what do you think a digital photo is, my
What
guy?
do you think? What do you think a digital photo is? Trust me, y'all say the same shit.
What do you think a digital photo is?
In 2026, it should be impossible
What
for
do you
me
think-
to argue.
Well, it
in
is impossible except you're
2026
brain dead, so like
No, in 2026, you should have live camera feeds set up on the moon, set up on Mars. It's science. The only science
you probably think that we didn't go to the moon, did you? Or don't
the
you?
only science. Okay, the only science that has regressed in the last 40 years has been what?
I can't think of a single one.
That's because you're,
Tell me,
retarded.
which science has regret? I know you want to get killed by Maud here, but I'm not going to let you. I'm just going to keep embarrassing you. Anyway, which science has regressed in the last 40 years?
what we were just talking about, like space travel. It's the only science that's regressed.
No, it hasn't. We can literally catch
It
rockets
literally
now.
has. Yeah, Elon Musk can.
Yeah,
Look up how much money we spent-
that's space
look up how much
travel
money-
science. What are you talking
No,
about?
look up how much money we
why does
spent on-
why does Elon Musk's contributions, or not his contributions, his
he had
engineers'
to come
contributions?
in.
Why does
had to come
Elon
in
Musk's
and
engineers'
fix-
contributions, who by the way were educated at the universities that you're saying are trying to hide us from, God or whatever? Why would their contributions not count towards humanity's achievements?
NASA was funded more money than, it's an insane budget.
You
We should
recognize that
literally-
NASA's
we should be
funding as a
living in the
percentage of the
Jetson-
GDP has decreased since the
it was-
1970s?
Oh, it's gone down a lot since Trump got in office.
No, since
but-
the 1970s. It actually hasn't decreased
not
since Trump
since-
got into
not
office.
since-
Yeah,
not
so
since-
want me to show you a percentage? Let me show you a chart.
Yeah, pull up how much they were funded.
Here.
We should literally be living in the Jetsons. You know what I mean? But you guys sit
That's
there.
what
and
delusional people say, by the
and
way.
You get off on your little CGI photos. It's like we don't have one live feed that shows Earth. There's not one live feed that shows Earth. Yeah, it's from
Wait,
the
sure
space
there
shuttle,
is.
yeah, or the space station. Oh, it shows a corner of Earth. No, I'm
Here.
talking about full Earth.
By the way, we get photos from the Himawari 8 spacecraft literally every 10 minutes of the Earth. So here's NASA spending relative to federal budget over the last several years. So if you notice, after the 1970s, the budget as a percentage of the federal
much
budget
money- how
has
much money is this? This
decreased
doesn't
by
show-
like a
this doesn't
factor
show-
of 4.
This doesn't show the money though. And what is the number? What is the number?
The relevant number is how much of our budget is going to NASA.
What is the number that was put into it each year? How much money were they being funded?
Do you not understand percentages? Do you need help?
Okay, so what's the total GDP in 1965 off the top of your head?
This is the federal
Off the
budget,
top
not
of your
GDP.
head. Well, what's the federal budget in 1965 off the top of your head?
It's not really relevant. The point is
It
how
is
much
relevant.
we're
If I have to-
prioritizing
if I
the
have to break
space
down,
industry.
We're at 4%, and in 1975 we're at 1%. I would need to know what that initial number was.
So the
But you're gonna sit there
relevant
and act
data here.
pretentious. No, you're going to
So
sit there and act pretentious. At
constrictor,
the
the
end of the day,
relevant data here
I'm
is
gonna let
how
you go.
much
I'm
we're
gonna replace
prioritizing.
them.
I know you're going to run. The relevant
No,
data
I'm
here
not-
is
I
how
don't
much
wanna
we're
talk to you.
prioritizing space travel and the space industry. And clearly we were prioritizing that industry much, much more in the 60s and 70s than we are today. So to think that we would have the same level of advancement or the
It's the
rate of
only
advancement
science that
as
has
please,
regressed.
I am in the middle of a sentence. To
I
think
don't give
that
a shit what you're
okay, I understand you don't. To think that we would have progressed at the same rate that we would have progressed at in the 60s and 70s now, when we are prioritizing the space industry less than a quarter of the amount that we were prioritizing it in the 60s and 70s, makes me think that not only do you not understand physics, you also don't understand economics.
You don't understand physics, bro. You literally
Surely
don't.
I don't understand physics. Definitely the guy with a physics PhD doesn't understand physics, but the meathead who
You
does
don't
Krav
even
Maga
know where
all
it
day
came
probably does.
Krav Maga is not a real martial art, but
Based.